A very good evening and welcome to the World Now at 4. I am Aidan Lubem. First, let's talk the headlines. On the headline, Senate confirms Onochie as NDDC chairman. Gambia panel blames Indian firm for corpse of death. Ukraine leader heads to US for first foreign trip. While on sports, Argentina abandons Buenos Aires bus parade amid jubilant scenes. And now the news in detail. President Muhammadu Buhari has transmitted a supplementary 2023 appropriation bill to the National Assembly. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, read out the contents of the letter on the bill to members today. Buhari in the cover letter said the additional demand for 819.5 billion naira for next year was due to the devastation caused by the floods of farmlands and road infrastructure. According to the president, Nigeria witnessed the worst floods incident in recent history, which has caused massive destruction of farmlands, adding that the country now risks food insecurity. He stressed that the flood affected several roads and bridges across the 36 states of the Federation. The supplementary budget got to the federal parliament about 24 hours before the passage of the 2023 appropriation bill. The president only transmitted the Finance Bill 2023 to the National Assembly on Tuesday. Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Fashola has said that the temporarily opened Second Niger Bridge will be towed. He said this model will be implemented to ensure the maintenance of the landmark project and to serve Nigerians for many years. Fashola made this known on Wednesday when he appeared as a guest on television. The minister, who cited challenges including relocating transmission lines connecting the east to the west across the River Niger, said the delay in the completion of the project was due to the sit-at-home order by the indigenous people of Biafra, that is IPOB. He, however, promised that the target date was to deliver a perfectly completed Second Niger Bridge in April or May 2023. The Nigeria Senate has confirmed 13 out of the 15 members of the Niger Delta Commission, that is the NDDC, while 2 nominees were rejected for failing to appear before the Senate Screening Committee. The 2 nominees whose appointments were rejected are Pius Ududu, who hails from Edo State and was nominated to represent the South-South region, and his counterpart Anthony Okanne from Imo State, who was nominated to represent the South-East region. Among the 13 nominees whose appointments were confirmed include the chairman Loretta Onochie from Delta State, while the managing director is Samuel Obuku, who hails from Bayelsa State. Chairman Niger Delta Affairs Bulus Kilawangs urged the new members to be patriotic in the discharge of their duties.
The committee wishes to recommend for confirmation the nomination of the following as chairman and members of the governing board of Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. Loretta Ifeanyi Onochie as chairman, governing board of NDDC. Accordingly, the committee stepped down the screening of the 2 nominees for reason of non-appearance before the committee.
Sirike Dixon, representing the Bayelsa West, however, opposed the confirmation of Onochie.
What the law says is that the nominees should come from oil-producing areas. But that anyhow you interpret it, it cannot go outside community, it cannot go outside a local government, and it should, in my view, not go outside the senatorial district.
Speaker of the Taraba State House of Assembly, Joseph Albasu Kunini, has resigned from his position citing personal reasons. His resignation was contained in the letter transmitted to the lawmakers on Wednesday and was read by the Deputy Speaker, Hamadanma IBN Abdullahi, who stood as Speaker pro tempore during the sitting. The Chief Whip of the Assembly, John Kizito Bonzena, who represents Zinc State constituency, was unanimously elected by the lawmakers as the new Speaker. When we return, news from other parts of Africa. Don't go away. Thank you for staying with us. Now to news from other parts of Africa. A parliamentary committee in the Gambia has recommended prosecution of the Indian manufacturer of a cough syrup suspected of causing the death of at least 70 children in the country. The report committee resolved that Maidens Pharmaceuticals is culpable and should be held accountable for exporting the contaminated medicines, although the pharmaceutical company denies the allegations. Responding, the government labs in India said their test on the syrups found that they were complying with specification. However, an Indian official said last week that the World Health Organization was presumptuous in blaming the syrups. However, the country's medicine control agencies have been mandated to ensure all medicines imported into the country are properly registered and background checks conducted on manufacturers, including visiting their sites. It would be recalled that the WHO had issued an alert in October advising regulators to stop the sale of the syrups. The United Nations Security Council has adopted a resolution relaxing the embargo on arms deal exports to the Democratic Republic of Congo, that is DRC, a decision hailed by Kinshasa as an injustice repaired on Tuesday. The resolution removes language that previously required countries to inform the Security Council and its 15 members of any sale of arms or military assistance to the DR Congo. The DRC has been under a UN arms embargo since 2000, and the decision was made at a time in response to the extent of the violence in the Central African country. In 2008, the Security Council amended its sanctions regime to apply only to armed groups, but it still required Kinshasa to notify a monitoring committee of any arms purchases. Earlier this year, the Security Council extended the sanctions regime but reduced the notification requirements for certain armed purchases. We move to other parts of the world after this break. Stay with us. Good to know that you're still listening to Hills News Updates on Hills TV. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is about to make his first foreign trip since Russia invaded February, as he says he is on his way to Washington, where he will meet U.S. President Joe Biden on Wednesday. Details of how and when he traveled are unlikely to be made public, given the security risk involved. The White House confirmed it would supply Ukraine with a Patriot missile system, significantly increasing the air defense capability. He also said he would give a speech to Congress and hold a number of meetings. The visit was unsurprisingly kept as a secret, with officials' confirmation coming only hours before it was due to start. The U.S. has been Ukraine's most important ally in the war, committing $50 billion of humanitarian, financial, and security assistance, far more than any other country. Zelensky has held regular phone calls with Western leaders since the start of the war. Russia said the visit would lead to an aggravation of the conflict. The Democratic-led panel voted in a closed session to release 6 years of records pertaining to the former president. A committee in the United States House of Representatives has voted to publicly release years of tax returns obtained from former President Donald Trump, capping a years-long legal and political battle that started when he was in the White House. The Ways and Means Committee, a body responsible for overseeing tax-related issues, voted 24-16 in a closed-door session on Tuesday in what was seen as the last opportunity for the Democrat-led panel to breach the issue. The committee's chairman, Richard Neal, a Democrat from Massachusetts, commented on the situation.
There being 24 ayes and 16 noes, the motion to submit the committee report to the House is agreed to, and the documents are ordered reported to the House.
Texas' Kevin Brandy, the leading Republican on the committee in the lead-up to the vote, also commented on the development.
Regrettably, the deed is done. Over our objections, in opposition, Democrats in the Ways and Means Committee have unleashed a dangerous new political weapon that overturns decades of privacy protections ravaged tax.
According to Brady, the move will lead to further scrutiny of Trump, who recently announced his intention to run for another term as president in 2024. And now to Canada, where the Canadian police has said 8 teenage girls have been charged with the murder of a 59-year-old man in Toronto. The girls, aged between 13 and 16, are accused of stabbing the victim in what police described as a swarming just after midnight local time on Sunday. The man, who has not been identified, has been living in a shelter for the homeless at the time of the attack. A group of bystanders flagged down emergency services after finding the man with stab wounds shortly after midnight on Sunday. This is according to Toronto Police Detective Sergeant Terry Browns, who spoke to reporters.
3 of them being 13, 3 of them being 14, and 2 of them being 16 years of age.
The victim, who had only recently moved into sheltered housing, later died in hospital. The girls, whose identities are protected under Canadian law, were arrested near the scene of the attack, and a number of weapons were seized. They had met via social media, and 3 of them had had contact with the police, according to Sergeant Terry Brown. We'll now move to business news after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back on Business News. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has said no less than $547 million has been generated from the auctioning of the 5G spectrum of the digital economic sector. The president said this in Abuja at the National Shared Services Center, a one-stop shop for ministries, departments and agencies that is MDAs to interface with citizens, which also houses a cybersecurity operations center, network center and call center. According to him, the digital economy sector has generated 594% of its revenue target from the 2019 baseline. The president attributed the feat to the digital economy, which had driven growth, created employment and generated revenue for the country. Buhari noted that the information, communication and technology sector, that is the ICT, had accelerated diversification of the economy. He further said the Q2 Gross Domestic Product report by the National Bureau of Statistics showed the extent of growth, with the ICT contributing an unprecedented 18.44% to the GDP, close 3 times to the 6.33% contribution of the oil sector in the same quarter. Still on business news, oil prices rose by more than 2% after data suggested a larger than expected draw in U.S. crude oil stockpiles, but gains were capped by growing concerns over demand in China and a snowstorm that is expected to hit U.S. travel. Brent crude futures were up by $1.77 or 2.2% at $81.76 a barrel by 13:06 GMT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate, that is WTI crude futures, gained by $1.68 or 2.2% to $77.91. Market sources cited data from the American Petroleum Institute, that is the U.S. crude inventories fell by about 3.1 million barrels in the week to December 16, potentially curtailing oil demand. Huge parts of the United States are forecast to face heavy snow that is likely to cause flight delays and impassable roads during one of the busiest travel periods of the year. There have been accelerated negative ripple effects on businesses as China's massive wave of COVID-19 infections begins its march across a country roughly the size of Europe. From its original epicenter in the north, including the capital Beijing, COVID-19 infections are spreading throughout the country, and cases are impinging workforces in manufacturing belts, including the Yangtze River Delta near Shanghai. Retail and financial services businesses have been hit hard by a shortage of staff, with manufacturers not far behind, according to an international business organization operating in China. With mass testing halted after China abruptly dropped its zero COVID-19 policy this month, official data no longer reliably captures new case numbers. As of Wednesday, the country has reported only 5,241 COVID-19 fatalities since the pandemic began. Still to come on World Now at 4 is Sports News. Don't go away.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Sport News on World Now at 4. I am Richard Badum. On the news, Team Nigeria has qualified for the curling event of the 2024 Youth Winter Olympics. This was made known by the president of the Nigeria Curling Federation, Daniel Damola, who confirmed the country's qualification for both the mixed and mixed doubles events. The 2024 Youth Winter Olympic is scheduled to take place in the Gangwon province, South Korea, from January 19 to February 1. According to him, Nigeria's qualification for the Youth Winter Olympics was secured after the country became the sole participating team from Africa at the World Junior B Curling Championship held in Finland. He further stated that the qualification ticket and the official notification will be sent to the Nigeria Olympic Committee in March 2023. Away from that story, tens of thousands of Moroccans thronged the capital to welcome the national football team, the first Arab or African squad ever to reach the semi-final of the World Cup on Tuesday. The team and coach Walid Regragui waved from an open-top bus as they were driven from the airport and around central Rabat, accompanied by dozens of police cars and motorbikes with flashing lights and wailing sirens. Many supporters clad in the team's kits and waving red flags had waited hours to see their heroes. Morocco finished top of the group that included Croatia and Belgium, who came third at the 2018 World Cup. before knocking out Spain and Portugal to reach the last four. The Atlas Lions lost Saturday's third-place playoff 2-1 against 2018 runners-up Croatia, but captured the imagination in Qatar. The team later headed to the Royal Palace, where they were received by King Mohammed IV in recognition of their historic achievements alongside with their mothers. Still on sports news, Argentina's World Cup winners had to abandon an open-top bus parade in Buenos Aires and instead took a helicopter ride over the millions of ecstatic fans partying in the streets. The squad showed off the trophy at the start of the planned 8-hour journey. The celebrations on packed roads became more chaotic, forcing a rethink. Social media videos appear to show fans jumping on the top deck of the bus, carrying the players at one point when it passed underneath a bridge with one fan falling off. The Argentine government declared Tuesday would be a national holiday in the South American country after Lionel Messi and his teammates beat France in Sunday's night final. About 4 million people lined the streets of Buenos Aires, according to local estimates. The journey was supposed to finish at the capital city's iconic obelisk monument, where hundreds of thousands had gathered and created a party atmosphere later that day. Chelsea has Chelsea has appointed Christopher Vivell as the club's new technical director. German Vivell, 36, was previously a head of scouting and recruitment at RB Salzburg in Austria and oversaw the signing of Erling Braut Haaland in 2019. His most recent position was recruiting across all age groups of Bundesliga side RB Leipzig in his native Germany. Vivell succeeds Peter Cech, the former Blues goalkeeper, who left in the summer after 3 years in the role. Chelsea chairman Todd Boehly said Vivell would provide support for Graham Potter. Chelsea will resume their Premier League campaign following the World Cup with a home match against Bournemouth on 27 December. And that's your sport news on World Now at 4. Back to Lubem for the rest of the news. I am Richard Badung.
Many thanks, Richie Badung, for the sports update. But before we go, let's let you know that former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi has accepted the resignation of his campaign organization director, Doyin Okupe. Newsmen gather that Okupe stepped down from the position on Tuesday. His resignation followed the ruling of a federal high court sitting in Abuja that convicted him of violating the Money Laundering Act. Reacting to Okupe's decision, the Labour Party flag bearer commended Okupe's support and tenacity that led to the countrywide acceptance of the party and its candidates. And that's World Now at 4, but before we go, here are the top stories once again. Earlier in the news, we told you Senate confirms Onochi as NDDC chairman. Gambia blames India firm for cough syrup's death. On the world stage, we told you Ukraine's leader heads to US for first foreign trip. While on sports, Argentina abandoned Buenos Aires bus parade amid jubilant scenes. Remember to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube channel at Hills TV. I am Ainan Lubem. Thank you for watching.